One thing that's always baffled me about Spider-Man comics is how the editorial staff just seems to hate the character of Mary Jane. They want her gone. They want her taken away. They want Peter Parker not to have a serious relationship. It's very bizarre. They've gone and pulled out every single stop on this level to just mess with that character and to try to like edit her out of the universe. It's very weird. I mean, Mary Jane really has been there since the beginning. I mean, they teased her in the Steve Ditko issues, and they brought her in with John Romita Sr. Originally. And so she's been a staple of the comic and sort of the Peter Parker mythos for a long time. But they're just obsessed with like destroying any kind of relationship. I think it ends up being lazy writing because I think a lot of these guys don't know how to write married couples or just happy couples or just any good romantic sort of thing at the end of the day. So they keep on just messing with this, but we'll see what they've done. Kind of in order here as I go through it. It's very crazy if you look at how hard they've tried to remove this character and remove Spider-Man's marriage. We'll get into that in just a second. My name is John Delarose. I'm a #1 best-selling comic creator and an award-winning comic creator too. And I've got a book that's really all about like a superhero relationship and of course building those background characters, building something that actually like matters and has character development, kind of done the opposite of what Marvel and DC do with their sort of resets that they do all the time. I have Flying Sparks. This is the final volume right here. It's on backer kit, and it's got a beautiful, beautiful storyline. If you love superhero stuff, if you love the dynamic between Peter and Mary Jane before they screwed it up, this is going to be the book for you. Please check it out. The link's in the description below. I really appreciate you guys for supporting the books. It's what we're here to do, of course. So here's the beginning. The beginning of the Mary Jane sort of like, let's get rid of them editorial mandate saga happened back in the mid-90s. And there was a Clone Saga where Spider-Man was going to get replaced by a clone who's a single version of Peter Parker, and Mary Jane and Peter were going to go off into the sunset. Over the course of this, they kind of realized that was going to be a bad sort of deal. And so this was Spider-Man Final Adventure where they actually like were going to have Peter Parker like really hang up the webs. Him and Mary Jane were going to move out to like Portland, and Ben Reilly was going to take over and eventually like become Peter again. So that was kind of like the plot line. That's what was going on with this whole deal. And they walked it back because it upset fans and like they had problems. So they eventually had Mary Jane pregnant, which they had already established to do this, try to give them that kind of coda sunset while Ben Reilly became the real Spider-Man. They once they had to bring Peter Parker back because that pissed off fans so much, they had to give her a just like terrible pregnancy, lose the baby and all that, and it was very sad. Now, of course, they did an alternate version of the universe called Spider-Girl, where it was a what-if issue that eventually went over 100 issues where that baby didn't die and they grew up and they did live happily ever after. That actually is kind of my Marvel universe from that point forward. I highly recommend those books because it gave the storyline kind of the future it deserved. Now, that wasn't it. So once all that settled and Peter Parker was back into the mantle of Spider-Man, they got rid of the clone. They kind of buried that whole storyline. They went a few years of just like really struggling and really just not making good Spider-Man books. And they reset everything at that point with an all-new #1 to try to get everybody happy and back into it. Of course, it was really bad even with the all-new #1. The storylines were not very good. There was this like girl running around pretending to be Spider-Man for a bit. And finally, Peter Parker gets back into it. So what do they got to do at that point? Well, they got to get rid of the Mary Jane relationship. And here's where Mary Jane actually comes back. I couldn't find the panel where they actually did this. It was in issue number 13 of the relaunch, where they actually just had her just die in a plane crash suddenly. She was on a plane, boom, plane explodes, it's gone. And they were just going to get rid of Mary Jane at that point. And I could see this at this point that, oh gosh, this is a pattern. They're trying to get rid of Mary Jane. They're trying to get rid of Mary Jane. They're trying to force Peter to be single. If she dies, hey, cool. And they did that, and this is where like J. Michael Straczynski like brought her back, or like right before that, they took a couple years before they actually teased that she's not actually dead. She was not actually on the plane. She was kidnapped by some stalker, and they brought her back again. Now J. Michael Straczynski like actually wrote the marriage relationship pretty well over the course of his run, but then Joe Quesada stepped in one more time, and it became one more day where they mandated that they get rid of her again. This was so annoying to J. Michael Straczynski, the writer at the time, that he actually dropped the book and dropped Spider-Man, and actually went online and talked about how he was demanding to get his name taken off the book for good reason, because it was awful. And this is what happened. They had Mephisto show up and literally, I want your marriage. Literally, Peter makes a deal with the devil to save his aunt from dying, who's like 90, so I don't get it. And he's going to just lose his marriage, lose Mary Jane, and it just resets reality for no reason. So Mephisto can now just reset reality for no reason. And that, one, doesn't even make sense in the context of the character of Mephisto. Number two, it doesn't make sense in the context of the Marvel Universe. Number three, it was just stupid. And they just got rid of Mary Jane. And when they came back in, they actually brought in Peter. I remember they did this issue. In the very next issue, they had Peter in a club just making out with a random girl. And it was really offensive to the character of Peter Parker to see that, because it's definitely just never something that was a Peter Parker kind of thing before. They brought in a new character called Carly Cooper to be Peter's girlfriend for that period, and I think Carly was like Joe Quesada's daughter's name or something like that. So it was one of those like self-inserts, like in order to take out this marriage. And the marriage never came back at this point. But that's not the end of like the Mary Jane struggles at this point. They had of course, this is kind of the getting rid of her as a relationship. They had a thing called a Superior Spider-Man, where Dr. Octopus inhabited Peter Parker's body, and he starts like hooking up with Mary Jane inside Peter Parker's body as Dr. Octopus. So creepy stuff, very weird. This really just like hurt the character very, very badly, to the point where it's just like, oof, this is rough. But it doesn't get better from there. Now, Nick Spencer actually almost brought them back together, kind of got them back into the relationship mode again. It looked like they were resetting everything from the reset. Thank God, finally. But then that run ended, and then they did this. And so Zeb Wells in the current run actually had Mary Jane disappear into an alternate dimension for a long time, hook up with some random dude, and have kids with him. So now Peter Parker is just like totally not able to get in a spot with Mary Jane, because Mary Jane now is with this dude, and it's very, very bizarre. And so I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, at this point, there's no semblance of continuity whatsoever. It seems like they don't care. Seems like they do just want to just destroy this kind of character relationship and make it something that's unpalatable for anybody to read. And it's really ruined the Spider-Man mythos by doing this. Now, I don't know why they have this hard on in order to like just like take out this character and take out this relationship in particular. I guess like they always said that they wanted Peter Parker to be younger and more single and like be more iconic, like as something like that. But like most people at this point like associate Peter and Mary Jane as being a couple, so it doesn't really make sense on that level whatsoever. I just think it's lazy writing, it's lazy editorial, and it creates just a sour stain in your mouth when you're trying to read Spider-Man at this point. It really has torched the character. Very sad. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button. And of course, check out Flying Sparks, my book, which actually does relationships right in comics. You'll absolutely love it if you love superhero stuff like Spider-Man. Appreciate you guys for being there.